Welcome, hockey fans, to the Knoxy and Kax show in partnership with the PWHPA and SDPN. Last episode, we were inspired by Alexis Miller's story of biking across the United States. And today, we have another avid cyclist on our hands. She has her degree in neuroscience from St. Lawrence University, has her master's in neuroscience from McGill. She has her own podcast. She represents the Montreal region, Team Harveys, with the PWHPA. And she encouraged us to bring a beverage on the show. Please welcome Mel Desrochers.
Woo!
Hey!
It's Friday, right?
You know, there's very few people that I feel like we were like ready to do this adult podcast with. Not that it's going to be like adult content, but Mel's one of them. She's just a good time. Obviously, a very well-educated young lady. So let's bring it back to your childhood before we get into all the neuroscience-y nerd things. You played with Stony Creek, right?
I did. Home of the creeks, the people. But no, what I love about Stony Creek is that if you go back to the Stony Creek tournament, now the brackets are named after players. I think that's really cool.
Oh, really? Is there a bracket after you?
No, I clearly wasn't good enough, but I think Jenner has a bracket. I think St. Lawrence alumni, Kelly Sabatine, has a bracket.
There you go.
Shout out to her. Yeah.
That's awesome. And you played, so you grew up in Welland, right? Mm-hmm. And you played at Stony Creek, and you also played on Team Ontario Blue, which you and I bonded over this a little bit, because for those who don't know, there's two Team Ontarios. Team Ontario Red is like the studs of, you know, they're your Brianne Jenners. They're, you know, like all your star hockey players. And then there's Team Ontario Blue, which is more like me and Mel.
The heart, the heart, Mel. The, like, you know, you play with heart.
I did play for Team Ontario Blue, but kind of like Knoxy, like you, I didn't really know that existed until later on. Like I played boys hockey up until high school. And then I went to Stony Creek, which I was just home this past weekend, and I have to drive to get back to Montreal. And I was like, damn, this is a long drive. It was like 45 minutes. And I used to carpool with Christina Lavoie, who played at UNH. And sometimes we would just drive home, and this is really bad to say now, but you know when you're really tired and then you get home and you're like, wait, what the fuck? How did I just get home? Did I sleep through? It was like back roads. I'm like, my mom let me do that. And I remember when I got my license, my mom was like, I love you, but I am never driving you to practice again.
Because it was the 45 minutes every time?
In 45 minutes, they're back, and we practiced like late. I would come home at like 11, but
that is one thing that hasn't changed. Like these late practices.
Last night was tough. I texted Kax. I was like, I got home from work at like 7. We practiced at 8, and I was like, and it was our first team practice after COVID restrictions. And I was like, please tell me this is going to be fun, because I'm like so close to bailing right now.
Okay, actually, we should talk about this, because here in Toronto, the Toronto teams have been able to get on the ice full capacity. Like we had the 2-week lockdown over Christmas where the rinks were closed, but before and after that, like they're practicing as a team. You guys have been not together. You guys have been in groups of what, 2 or 3?
Two or 3. Yeah. So just like skills, which I mean, is kind of, I think it was like 2 sides of a coin. Cause I kind of appreciated it because we practice only 2 times a week. And obviously we're going to focus on like systems and like group stuff. And as a defense, I'm like, man, there's only so many B groups I want to do.
so many pivots and back
it's true. It's like you're practicing your defensive role, but it was kind of nice for me to just go back to like basic skills, which I feel was like kind of missing from my game.
Yeah, we had it a bit different where we had during the lockdown in Montreal, there was also a curfew. So our practices were earlier, but yet, yeah, it was like little groups or groups of 2s or 3, depending on the household. And then, more so skill session ran by players as well too. Because
there's no coaches.
They couldn't too many people in the same area. I was like major rules and whatever. So professional hockey was a bit different for months, I'd say. And then now we're back to normal.
Just because we're on this topic, this was not, part of the original plan.
We took a sidebar. We'll get back.
Like, how does that affect then your team culture? Because I'll speak candidly about the team in Toronto. Like when you're only practicing, this is like a direct result of COVID and, travel restrictions and the tour that we've been doing. But when you're only practicing for like weeks on end, like my philosophy is that you're going through those like emotional roller coasters that you have in a game, but you're doing it in practice. So it's like you only take your frustrations out on the people around you. Like it can be a really tough environment to be in, honestly, because you don't have wins and losses. Like if you go out and you suck, like, you come, sometimes that's what brings a team together. But now you're just like, oh, well, I sucked in that drill. And now we're like, oh, no, I'm just the worst player on the team. Like,
there's a lot of that. Like, I'll tell you, I feel like every time I get in mine, I'm just like, wow, when did I become bad at hockey? And I think yesterday, since it was our first time back, like I could tell you it was very like positive atmosphere. We were just so happy to see each other. And our execution definitely wasn't there, but I think we all like forgave ourselves for it.
Got better.
But I think like in general, this whole pandemic, it's already we have such a low frequency of playing time since we lost our league, right? And the Dream Gap tour and the Secret tour is like definitely helping because it gives us some games, but it's still not at the frequency we'd all like, right?
Yeah, of course.
And getting motivated, especially after like working long days, to just go hard in practice, knowing that your next game is like 2 months from now is challenging. And I think it wears on us, but I don't know. When the passion's there, you just
find a way.
You find the joy in it. Like being on Team Blue, we didn't make the best team, but
we were there though.
But we were there though. We had fun. Honestly, if we want to bring it back to Team Blue and Red, I think it's just Ontario has so many good hockey players. I felt like no shame playing on that Team Blue. Like, of course, I would have wanted to play on Team Red, but gave us all the more reason to try and beat Team Red.
I think you have the finals, if not triple, of like the pool size of any other provinces. So it makes total sense to why there's two teams too. And Team Blue was super hard to play against. Like, it's not like it was a clear win for other provinces or groups either. Like it was
my
good.
year we went to the finals and
Team Blue,
lost.
Team Red.
I think so.
Shoot, Quebec didn't make it. God damn it.
That's rare, I will say. And did you guys do Teen Ranch when you were U18? Did you guys go to Teen Ranch?
I don't think so.
Because when I was like U18, they used to take us out to this place. I think it's in Orangeville, but I don't know because I wasn't really driving at the time. And like they basically like put you up in like houses. And the only reason why I ask is because I vaguely remember like the girls from Team Blue breaking into the rooms of the girls on Team Red. Because we were just like shit disturbers, right? Like we're not the stars. Like we're just there to have a good time. And I'm pretty sure I can't remember who it was.
You were for sure part of it. Don't even act like you don't remember it.
No, I
vaguely remember someone going through. You were part of this.
And I vaguely remember picking a lock.
I can't remember whose bed it was, but we grabbed a mattress. I mean, they grabbed the mattress and we sent it out on this like canoe. It wasn't like a lake. It was like a man-made pond. But there's like always these like back and forth pranks that would happen between Red and Blue, but obviously Team Red typically got the last laugh, actually winning the hockey games, but
in the championship game.
But it was good fun. Yeah, exactly.
But I played with Richard, so you have to ask her after, because I'm pretty sure we made it to the finals and lost to Team Red, but I weirdly have a really bad memory.
And she is a genius. So
yes, that is true.
No.
So before we get to your big brain, that will probably just have
me and Kax sitting here. Okay.
Tell us a little bit about your family. You grew up in Welland, as you said. I'm assuming that this, neuroscience brain didn't just, appear out of nowhere. What do your parents do? Do you have siblings? Tell us about your family.
I have one older brother. So my mom's originally from Montreal, so that's why I speak French. And it's funny that we switched spots. She moved to Welland when she was younger because her family moved there, and I left the nest and went to Montreal and never came back. But I mean, both my parents had very blue collar jobs. I mean, I think it was just like a product of of their financial circumstances when they were younger. They didn't really have a lot of money. So I getting higher education really wasn't kind of in the cards for them. My dad actually worked in a steel factory in Hamilton his entire career. Incredibly smart man, as far as like his job was literally just to take apart things that like huge machinery that didn't have manuals and fix them and rebuild them. So he's very like he visual
in anything right now.
Yeah. And it's translated to my brother, less so me. But and then my mom worked for Canadian Tire and like their corporate offices. She did like IT stuff. She has a college degree, went to Niagara College. But I think just like anything else, higher education, just because you have it, it's mainly a product of like privilege. So my smarts come from my parents, certainly. I think like we lived in a household where asking questions was just always encouraging. And like, that comes from my dad a lot, where it's just like, oh, you want to know how something works? Take it apart. See what's inside. And my brother is exactly like him. Like my childhood was him and I in the garage, me mainly like hanging out and like passing him tools, but like, putting a motor in an old couch and we're us like ripping around the lawn.
What?
Yeah, like
what
he would, and like looking back, I'm like, why did you let us use all these power tools, like at a very young age, and building forts? But sports wise, it's funny. Like both my parents are very athletic, but not at a competitive level. And financial reasons. Like my dad never played hockey. He played broomball, which apparently was extremely popular back in the day.
Maybe a retirement sport. I can see us getting into that, gal.
Man, us running on the ice, Knoxy, breaking hips.
Yeah, seriously, and knees. Watch out.
And that sport, I don't know. I looked at some video. It was full contacts in a rink, but just with shoes.
Can't get it
like,
crazy.
So, but my dad played that because it's cheap, and he did gymnastics actually in high school, and he was very good. But
okay.
You could do it in high school. He's like, now they definitely they don't allow you to do gymnastics. It's dangerous. Like kids can't even play with the rubber dodgeballs anymore. Do you guys remember
That's
those?
Fact. Yeah.
Like those stingers
sound.
Yeah, I can hear the sound.
The welts he would leave from gym class.
And they're always a little deflated. So it would like literally slap. Like it's just,
just morph around your leg, and bounce back. But no, so like everyone was super athletic and in their own right. My brother grew up playing hockey, and that's the reason I played hockey when I was little. My mom had stuck me in dance early on, and I used to dance. Believe it
that's where she gets her move.
Yes, different stage now. But
what was your preferred dance? Were you contemporary
styles?
Or were you?
No, I did ballet and tap and jazz, but I would say my preferred one was none. I don't remember like love. I kind of liked it, but I didn't have. I think I would have liked it later on in life. I didn't have the temperament to just like in and do exactly what they wanted. Like I had too much energy. It's like, let's move, let's do this, and they're like, that's not what we're doing today.
You're probably asking questions as they were teaching you moves.
Oh, probably just annoying.
Mel is the best. Like, gosh, if any coaches or any things that we were doing, it was like you could actually for sure hear Mel at some point. Okay, but why are we doing this again? Or what is this happening? Or
it never stopped. Because when the CWHL folded, right?
I had a phone call on those calls.
Mel always have a question.
I won't say who it was with or what the content was, but it was like I had like prepared a sheet of paper because I was the head of the CWHLPA, and I was like, hey, I'm gonna like fight for our rights. And like I didn't even need to be on that call. Mel was just like, excuse me, no, why? Like nitpicking every little thing that they said. And I was just like, well. Case closed. My lawyer will now speak for me. Like it's incredible. And that's honestly part of what definitely drew, me to you, and I'm sure your teammates as well. So we will switch now to St. Lawrence a little bit. You guys, Did you guys overlap at SLU? The two of you?
Yeah, we overlapped for 2 years. Yeah.
Okay. So you got to give us the real inside, because we've had a lot of conversations on the show about the kind of player that Kax is.
Oh,
right?
God.
She has this reputation that she's a little bit chippy, but you've been her teammate now for many moons. So I want your insight into Kax's game.
I mean, factual. Like, okay, we'll go back to SLU, but if you want a story about just Kax,
don't do Jackie.
It's no.
Okay, thank you.
No, I was gonna do Noom. Okay, this is now with.
Noom is better. Yeah,
this is just a story. Like, it is practice. We're doing 2 like one-on-one battles, and this drill was like one-on-one battles in the corner, and then like back checks to the other end of the ice, get a rest and battle again. And it's a drill like no one really likes doing, to be honest. Like, you're just kind of like, this is a hidden conditioning bag skate.
And you're fighting against the same person.
The same person
from one end to another
again.
corner to another corner to coming back. So I'm with this same person, and it's with Les Canadiens. So it's after college, actually. But
yeah, but like, this is just the best example, because in college you were very chippy, but I like in practice was just like hard. But this is like ingrained into my mind because I was next in line. So normally in these drills, if you have a good guys, battle hard.
That's what I was trying to do. Battle hard.
No,
like, come on, give me a second.
Kax and Noom were like going at it to the point that Knoxy, the puck just didn't move. Okay, sitting there. And it was just cross check. Like, no one was going for the puck. It was just like, let me see if I could literally knock you down. Like, it got just so intense. Like one got intense real, like for one, I guess, rep. We go down the ice. I go back. I'm like, oh, this is just like accelerating. I'm like, should we intervene? Me and the other girl, like, and at one point we literally had to break them up because they were just fighting at that point.
No, it wasn't that bad.
The puck wasn't there. And then finally you guys are just like, no, is just as intense as Kax. It's like, yeah, that's the way we I'm just like, whoa.
Okay, what happened exactly is that we're behind the net. Let me describe. So I'm like, Kax, yes, cross check and hits, everything happens like on the other side. So we come back in there. I grab the puck and she comes in and kind of like hits me good, but then also like gets me in the one knee that I'm hurting, and then something flipped in my mind.
No.
I was just like,
switch.
Oh yeah. I just turned around and I pretty much flipped her, and I didn't mean to, but it happened. Boom. And then I took the puck and I took a shot and I just left. And then she chased me down the ice. So I'm like, frick, we're about to fight. Like, this is about to like, and this is Noémie Marin, number 10 for Les Canadiens.
Oh, I know.
You know who she is, right? And I'm like I'm getting a slash in like the next 2 seconds and something's happening. And she just like pushes me. She's like, I love it. And I was like, I thought I was about to like needed to punch you. Like, it's just like you're
that was the peak. But like, everyone knows on that drill, you're supposed to take it chill.
Yeah. I guess it depends who I'm going against, but I match the other person's intensity, I'd say at times.
So Kax, very physical. At SLU, my memories of her is, like practicing hard is one thing, but Kax is very much an energy driver. So if someone was bringing just the team down at practice, she was not shy to be like, just leave if you don't want to be here, kind of. You didn't say it, but your body language was like, you would get really just an impossibly hard pass. Like, it would be like a 2-foot pass, and if you weren't paying attention, she literally took a slap shot. Be like, why aren't you catching that?
Message sent. Yeah. Get your head out of your ass.
And then they took a good shot on that, and I'm like, about time.
But it was good. It was good. You're definitely an energy driver. Like, but even still now, if you're at practice, there's those people on your team that, I don't know, just bring the energy. If they're not there, it's like a little flat. Our coach was very much like that.
Yeah.
At St. Lawrence?
Yeah. And if he wasn't at practice, it was just like, I don't know.
So, okay, my next question for you, Mel, is that I took sociology in university, okay? which is a good degree. I enjoyed it. Lots of writing, supposed to be lots of reading. I did a lot of skimming, but you took neuroscience and you played on the varsity hockey team, obviously. And I'm sure that's not all you did. So how did you balance this? How do you I can only imagine the workload that you had in your undergrad and then in your master's program. So talk a little bit about kind of balancing your two hats.
I think, I don't know, like when you're in it, it's hard to know exactly where I think in retrospect, I was extremely organized. And I was a procrastinator, so I can't say that I was like getting assignments done like on time. I work really well under pressure, which is kind of bad because, you know, you could probably do even better work if you plan it. I can't pull all-nighters, but like I wasn't doing things a week ahead of time.
Diamonds are made under pressure. Sometimes that's what gets you going.
Ooh, and I think also because like we're so busy when you do have a little bit of downtime, I gave myself that. I was like, you know, I'm also here to enjoy myself. I think it's being organized, and I attended class. Like I rarely missed class because I knew if I would be there. I would like at least absorb something, hopefully, if I'm not sleeping, which sometimes happen, you know, we can't help it. but I'm very much like, if I heard it and I could study it after, I don't know, I get like a flashback of what was said. So for me, it's just going to class and being organized.
When you say you're organized, because I'm always curious, like there's people who are organized in their thoughts and there's people who are like borderline OCD. Like for me, like I like things to be in their spots. How was your dorm life? Let's say, like, were you a messy student, or were you as organized outside as you were in your head?
I'm pretty organized. My mom would disagree because when she would go to my college dorm, it was always quite clean, and I go home and my room was like a disaster. Like, I don't understand why you can keep your dorm room clean, but you can't keep your bedroom clean at home. I go, because my bedroom at home is not my living space. It's a big it's my closet. I just sleep and I put my clothes there. Like, so that's different. The difference for me there, but I'm pretty organized. I wouldn't say like I have a tic or OCD in the sense that if something's misplaced, it stresses me out.
Right.
But now, how do you organize your books?
By color.
There we go. So let's that's how I wanted to get to this.
Yes, but you know your skills. I have very bad like episodic memory or like names. Like I could tell you fun facts, but it's probably missing a bunch of details. I once heard something about this, but so books are the same. I know good books based on what the book cover looks like.
I love
which
that.
It's very hard now because I read on a Kindle a lot. And I listen to a lot of audiobooks, but now I literally forget books I've read. People are like, what'd you read this year? I have to open it and then be like, oh yes, this was a good one.
Man, it's a lost art. So, okay. In Liz Knox terms, I want you to try to explain to us what neuroscience is and what specifically what you studied or what you mastered in.
All right. So neuroscience is an umbrella term for kind of the studying the biology of a nervous system. It's a really, there's like a lot of topics you could study. For example, in my master's, I studied C. elegans, which is like a tiny nematode. And I looked at individual neurons and how they function, where my friend studies postmortem brains.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, he has extremely cool research, much cooler than mine. I'd like to...
I mean, worms are cool too.
Right?
I like cool. I mean, you actually studied their navigation, whatever thing, like whatever happens there, like in the little tiny worm.
Yeah. So like people will be like, why do we care about like a C. elegans, a worm? And we don't really care that much. From a neuroscience perspective, obviously ecology might say something differently, but it's a model organism because it grows quickly. Like the turnover is like you have one parent and then you have like 300 little worms in like 3 days. So it's easy to study compared to a human or primates or rats. I mean, just weren't for me. I was not going to use that study. They're extremely smart. I just didn't want to like take care of them. So the reason I study it is because even though it's a worm and it only has 302 neurons and humans have like 1 billion.
Right.
Everyone
knows that.
Yeah, everyone knows that. Okay. Well, now you do. It's a fun fact you could pull out of the party.
Did you know that?
You only get certain types of people interested. Not everyone's
the right ones though, right, Mel?
Yeah. No, so it's like, even though it's a worm, its neurons function much in the same like our own. So you could really get into the nitty gritty of it. So I studied in 3 years 2 neurons, so 2 small cells that help worms navigate. And even though they're a simple creature, they're quite smart, and you could teach them behaviors. And the neurons I was studying is kind of like navigation. So how do they know what's in their environment and how do they get there? And I really looked at neural activity. So not to get too complex, but neurons work basically with kind of electrical signals. So a little bit like a plug, they're on and off. So I looked at patterns and what causes them to be on and how long are they on for. And, you know, this is really like precise stuff in a sense, like in a global perspective, you know, people might not care, but this is how science builds on each other. You start with a nematode, you learn what they're doing there, and then you usually build into larger model organisms like a fish, then a mouse, rat, maybe a primate. And then you have my friend Daniel, who studies like postmortem brains and, you know, relies on some of the basic science research that I've done in my lab and some of my colleagues have done. So that's what I studied in my master's degree. And in undergrad, it was just a general neuroscience degree, which is, I mean, you get a global look at how does memory look, what do drugs do in your brain, the genetics of it. I extremely loved it. And I think it's a product of St. Lawrence, going to a small school. I got really close with the neuroscience professors there. And I don't know, you know how you have these people that could change the course of your life. And I really enjoyed my neuroscience degrees. And, you know, people ask, because I don't currently work as a neuroscientist, but I think it's like, I don't know, people question, why don't you work in that field? I don't know. I'm not like every step needs to lead to the traditional path. I mean, I've learned an incredible skill sets doing my master's degrees. And I think it translates really well to my everyday life.
I think that you're a model organism. So yeah, that's my contribution.
Both physically and intellectually.
And
right?
intellectually. So speaking of which, because obviously, you know, you see the world through a very different lens than I would say the average person. You started a podcast called Away from the Play, and you don't just talk about sports. And this is why I love, you know, this is why I love you. And this is why I love the podcast, is that you and Safia, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Kind of tackle a little bit of everything. It's kind of just, it is more of like an open discussion about current events and sports and, you know, the role that sports play in the world and the, you know, role that the world play in sports. So why don't you tell us a little bit about why you guys started this and, you know, kind of your favorite episodes or where it's led you that, you know, you're thankful for.
Yeah. I mean, the podcast has been an incredible experience. Unfortunately, like, we're not doing it as much now. It is, as you will learn, quite time consuming. And I've transitioned into some more serious roles at work. So it's kind of pulling me away from that side passion. But honestly, we started it basically for our love of podcasts. You hear about podcasts. Everyone knows what a podcast is now, right? Yeah. But, you know, 7 years ago, which is not when we started our podcast, but in grad school, like, I would talk to someone about a podcast. No one knew what they were. And I met Safia because she was working for the Canadian in like our
social
media
stuff and
not like our comms girl.
Yeah.
And, you know, they had asked, like, a certain podcast had asked hockey players to join. So we went, and she like escorted us there, and we just both said, like, we love podcasts. We should start one, like, day one. We're like, what's it going to be about? I don't know. And like a year later, we started, it was called like the last stretch at first. It's kind of transition roles because we did want to, at first it was very much kind of just talking about sports. And I think what you learn is like, and I think there's just been like a big cultural movement in the past years. It's like, you can't look at sports in a silo. You know, they're not just athletes and they have a lot of support staff. And, you know, we're all in the past and still now in major media outlets, we're mainly the athlete and the stars. And we really wanted to shed light on like support staff, you know, people like what is the ecosystem that these high performing athletes like rely on, and not even high performing athletes. Like one episode, Knoxy, you want to know that like just stood out is the woman who set the world record for a plank. It was like 6 hours. Like speaking to her, this girl, I'd have to fact check because I'm not sure if it was 6 hours, but just incredibly long. Like, and speaking to her, she's just one day was like, oh, I want to see how long I can plank for. And she set a goal, and like setting a goal like that. And every day she would just train 1 hour, 2 hours, and like so regimented. So, you know, highlighting people like that who you're not seeing them on the TSN highlights, but that deserves some credit. So I think, you know, it just started with a passion for people is kind of where the podcast comes. And we both love sports, and we love looking at sort of the intersection of sports and different facets of life.
I love that. And then seeing, you know, their processes or their journeys, which are usually either similar or completely different, but yet are working in the same field or touching, like, how do you get an athlete to perform versus like, as an athlete, what do you do? Which is usually what we hear about more often than not. So no, that I remember that one podcast too, the episode about that. I was like, I lasted 4 minutes one time.
Crazy. Like
4 minutes. Man, I'm happy
one
I got 40 seconds.
No, it's crazy. I'm like, I'm just, everything hurts about, like, my elbows hurt thinking about that. Like, how are you just not shaking? I don't know.
Mm-hmm. So we also, speaking of tolls on your body, we kind of alluded to this in the intro.
Perfect.
We had Karell on last episode, and she raced across the States on her bike. And we learned through Kax that you also biked across, but Canada by yourself from BC to PEI.
Yes, it was not a race. Not a joyride.
Well, and let me introduce this too. She goes, Kax, I'm gonna do this bike trip. It's gonna be sick. I'm gonna fly to BC with my bike, and then I'm gonna bike back. And I was like, who else? Like, she's like, oh, I don't need anyone. Like, if you want to do it and come for a couple of days, like, yeah, sure. I'm like, I'm going to get a scooter, first of all, if I go by you and I'm like, yeah, sure. I could maybe join you at a certain point within like the race. I never did it. My bad. Like, honestly, but the girl pitched a tent places. And I hope you go into certain details and event, because I was like, Mel, can you please communicate with us at some point?
We just want to know you're alive. Happy. my mom was freaking out.
BC to PEI, right? Pretty much, like fully.
Halifax,
all the way. My bad, all the way.
Nice.
Whoa. Okay,
so tell us what happened.
Yeah.
Well, I wasn't like a avid cyclist going into this. I moved in grad school.
Better. Bike. I bike a little bit here and there. I bike to work because she biked everywhere in Montreal.
Yeah, so I didn't have a car. Okay, I was a poor grad student.
She'd leave the house, like people's houses at 11. Please text us when you get home.
Oh yeah, I rode my bike everywhere. Like a nice restaurant, no shame.
Shows up with her helmet. Hey guys,
safety is sexy, you know. But
Mel's here, everyone. Bikes around her arms, just walks it in.
Yeah. Oh, that one time someone stole my bike, stole my ride. Still so resentful. Anyway, so I biked all around the city, you know, for 3 years. Well, my entire time I was in Montreal up until my bike trip. And I was thinking I was graduating. I was trying to, you know, think about what to do with my life. Everyone's been there. We're all still there. And I knew I kind of wanted to take some time off because after my undergrad, I went to grad school like 2 months after. I just kind of jumped right into it. And I didn't want to jump into a job because, you know, the world was going to tell you get a job. Like, right. I was like, I don't know what I want to do. I don't want to get stuck in a job and, you know, accumulate some debt in the sense like I bought like a car and then I need to stick in this shitty job because I need to pay off stuff. So I read on like a magazine thing, which is so funny. And I was in a magazine. I don't even know where I picked it. I think it was a magazine my roommate had about bike touring. And I had never heard of bike touring, but it's essentially like backpacking on a bicycle. And I was like, that sounds extremely cool. And, you know, I thought about doing it abroad, but I was like, okay, you know, what if I hate this and I like fly across the world?
Yeah.
So I was like, you know, if I do Canada, then I'll start in Vancouver. And I was like, if I get to Calgary and I'm like, this is not for me, well, sell my bike and I'll fly home and we go on the next adventure. So, anyways, I planned the trip and I found out like so many people have done this in the past. Like you know, a lot of people do this every year. And it happened to be, I was doing it on Canada's like 150. So in retrospect, like on my trip, I met so many people doing it because it's just like so their bucket list. And I don't know, I just bought a bike, all the gear, and I flew to Vancouver. I assembled my bike in the lobby of the airport. And
because you had the know-how from your dad from building motors.
Roger just like gave me a tutorial on how to like clean my bike chain. That's the thing too. Everyone's like, oh, did you know how to fix? I'm like, figure it out when we get there. And
perfect attitude right there. No worries in the world.
I had the basic stuff, you know, I was like, it should be okay. And then I literally biked out of the airport, like through the automatic doors, just like, right, going on an adventure. And I don't know, it was an incredible trip. And I started off alone and, you know, I will say there was very few times I was scared, like maybe one time I was sketched out. And, but like everyone I met was incredibly nice on my trip. Day 2, I met a German guy who I biked like 2 weeks with him. That first night was maybe the night I was sketched out. Cause like, and he was maybe sketched out too. You know, you meet this random person on the side of the road and it's very easy to identify each other because we both ride bikes with a bunch of stuff on it.
Right.
And, you know, I had kind of seen him. So I was like, hey, someone's going that way. And then he was going to Calgary and I was, you know, going to pass through Calgary. So we were like, do you want to bike together? Where are you camping tonight? You know, we pitched our tents next to each other. And I was like, if we make it through tonight, he's a good guy.
Just roll the dice, see what happens.
No, I don't know. I feel
pretty much.
I don't know. Maybe I have
you had like faith in humanities. Let's put it this way.
I don't know. I feel like I'm a decent judge of character. And like, if you're meeting someone on a bicycle, like they have to have a similar mentality to you. Like I would be more sketched out if someone with like a truck was like, can I pitch my tent next to you or something?
Yeah.
But we had an incredible time together, him and I. We ended up going all the way to Jasper, like added 2 weeks to our trip because it was just so beautiful. And we've met other people who were like, just keep going north. And we were like, all right.
All right.
Why not? Why not hiking a bit more and having some pit stops and drinking beers here and there?
Unlike Cross, I didn't, you know, it wasn't a race. And like, I knew I wanted to get to Halifax by the end of like summer or winter at this point. And so I ran out of money. So, and I think, I mean, didn't have a lot of money, let me tell you.
Pitch a tent, have your beans and whatever food.
Yeah. What did you eat on this trip? Because you're obviously packing a lot. So I mean, I'm sure you could stop at like Walmarts and stuff along the way, but what were you eating? What was your diet?
Yeah. So that's the thing too. Like people assume we had to pack. And I say we, because like in the early days, we kind of did, because in the Rockies, there are less amenities. So there we packed like camping food. So we ate like, you know, like weird pasta and like whatever you could put in a pot or boil, like eggs. And then most of the trip after that, like I would always be hitting a town. So I would either go out to eat or I'd buy like, you know, a nice steak or something because I didn't have to carry it with me.
Yeah, may as well enjoy.
That was a couple splurges, but I got fed a lot because I used this app called Warm Showers, which is, I don't know if people have heard of couch surfing.
Yep.
So Warm Showers is for couch surfers, but who are on bikes. So there's an app and if there's a host near your city, you could contact them and ask them if you could stay with them. And at the bare minimum, they have to offer you a hot shower and a place to pitch your tent.
1 star, 1 hot shower, 2 stars, hot shower, and a glass of water.
Yeah. No, seriously, it was so funny. And I didn't tell my mom I was using this app at first. And then once I've used it a couple of times, I told her, and she freaked out. And I was like, it's like Airbnb in a sense, like guests, you know, review the host reviews you. So obviously I stayed with people that had exceptional reviews, and some of these people host, you know, cyclists all summer because a lot of people are doing this trip. And my mom ended up hosting people. So she got to know like the community and stuff. And
you guys just giving back.
She was, you know, and I'm telling you, I thought it was going to be like young kind of people on this app. It was a lot of older people, like people my parents' age who used to cycle like back in the days, and now they just want to host cyclists. Like I kid you not, in Canmore, I stayed with this family. It was actually raining when I had left Banff heading down to Canmore, and it was kind of a long, cold day. Which is unfortunate because apparently that's a very beautiful stretch of the Rockies. But Andy, the German guy I was with, got like 2 flat tires. And now we literally had no tube. So we're on the side of the highway. And thankfully we had some beers. So him and I are just sitting on the side of the highway in the pouring rain, drinking beers because our host had said, like, saying to them, we're going to be late. Like we got two flat tires. So like, don't worry, we'll come pick you up. So this guy comes, picks us up, like brings us to his home. That is incredibly nice. Okay. We did our laundry. We had like oysters and salmon and like, wow. Oh my God. Like bougie. We got treated bougie. We loved it so much. We asked if we could stay another night.
2 warm showers.
2 warm. No. So there was a lot of people like that throughout my trip. And I don't know, the deeper I got into Canada, like there's nothing like seeing your country at that slow pace. Like it is extremely beautiful. Like, and the people are so kind everywhere. And I don't know, it was a very transformative experience because when your only goal that day and your only stress that day is just go a little bit further, it allows you like a lot of time
slow down
and maybe it might not be good for everyone, like that much introspection, but
probably pretty spiritual kind of adventure that you're on though, right?
Yeah. And you just really like let your mind wander when you're sitting for a couple hours on the bike. And I don't know, I would highly suggest that type of trip. Like
that's very cool.
Even if it's like supported, because sometimes they'll have people like carry your stuff. You know, there was one in Europe, Kax was saying.
Yeah. They actually take your suitcases to the next like stop, and then you just bike to another country. Yeah,
which could be nice.
Yeah. There's some fun one, like, you know, wineries and vineyards, like maybe I do those ones.
That sounds more up our alley.
You don't want to shower for 1 week.
I'd be going on those a bit better.
And pitching
e-bikes too are options.
Days I didn't use warm showers, Knoxy. I just pitched my tent in like wherever I found.
Figure it out, eh?
Yeah. Like all trip, I spent $100 on accommodation.
Wow, that's it. That's crazy.
I got like 2 campgrounds. The rest I just rivers, baseball diamonds.
On the side of the highway, just pitch a tent there.
No, never on the side. I would always go into the town. But like baseball diamonds I discovered were like
smart.
kind of a safe spot because no one was going to say anything.
Okay,
No,
so
I love it.
Speaking of transformative, we have to bring it back to hockey. We got way down.
To go there.
I love my trip so much. I get so deep.
No, it's amazing. It's obviously a very impactful time for you. So we do want to talk about the transformation though between the CWHL into the PWHPA, and you were co-authored on Dr. Courtney Cito, good friend of the show, good friend of the PWHPA, amazing individual, on an article entitled #For the Game, Social Change and the Struggle to Professionalize Women's Hockey. Just want to get your Cole's notes on the perspective that you gave to the article. And also like, why was this so important for you to use the voice that you had at that time?
I mean, we have to give so much credit to Courtney. Like, we're authors on it, but she definitely, I'm not going to hide the fact that she like steamrolled this thing. But I think, it's important to give our perspectives because it's our lived experience. So what better voice to explain what we were feeling and the importance of it, because sometimes it's for sure people can analyze what they think is best for women's sport, but until you're in it and you're a player and you kind of sense that, I'm going to use the word despair because like the CW closing was like, I didn't think it was going to have that impact until like we were on that terrible phone call. Like I cried. I didn't know I was going to cry. Like, because, unfortunately when you, as a woman, like a female hockey player, you always know your career is going to end when you're not ready.
Right.
And, hopefully that won't be true, in the coming years, but when it happens and you aren't ready and you haven't convinced yourself that it's okay, it was very hurtful. And I think we deserve so much more. And I think, the paper speaks to that. And like, the broader literature, I was going to say is now on board, but we just saw some shitty articles.
It was just one
step forward, one step back.
Yeah. There's going to be the naysayers. And I think, it's important to see the bigger picture. Right.
And
go ahead.
Sorry. The thing I was just going to say was like, the interesting way that Courtney posed the whole article was that she's asking players who have now lived the CWHL experience and now seen it fold. She's asking us genuinely what our experience of professional women's hockey is. And the funny thing is, in a weird way, professional women's hockey, we've done a really good job the last like 10 or 20 years trying to, we're trying to earn credibility by coming across as professional as possible. Oh yeah, we're well taken care of. Yeah, everything's good. Like never complaining to the public eye, but behind the scenes, this was our opportunity to say our truth, which is like, you know what? I've shown up to rinks and they haven't had a shower for us to shower in after the game. Like I've gone to events and they don't know who we are. Like, why am I volunteering my time here? And so we'll take it to your Lake Canadian days, because I'm sure you guys have some great stories to share, but this was our reality in the CWHL. And this is by and large still a reality that, professional women's hockey faces today. So take it to Lake Canadian, Kax.
Well, I'll set up the stage, Mel. And I think honestly, like Canadian, we were lucky on top of like saying like how it felt to be professional. Like I agree with you 100%. Like we hid it. Like we hid a lot because we wanted people to take us seriously, because we wanted the visibility and more and more. But I think that the group around the teams, and we've alluded to that, you and I, the volunteers, the passions of those people around the group made it so that it felt professional in certain areas. And I think Montreal was lucky to have such a big group. So I know when we joined, Mel and I, the same year, like the Lake Canadiens was like fan base was already kind of like established. Like we had a good momentum. I think we just kind of signed what they said was a partnership with Les Montreal Canadiens. And then people were like, my God, this is amazing. And then we all had to say like, yeah, it's phenomenal. It's great.
Yeah, we love it. But what did they do for us? They lent us their colors? I don't know.
Yeah, we had no clue what they were going to bring to our team. And technically, we probably brought more to them in a sense of like, they're supporting women. They're supporting women.
Yeah.
It's the right thing to do.
We were their token.
It is how it felt a little bit. Like we did gain, momentum and visibility a little bit just because they associate the two teams. But professionally, like I agree, like every year I remember some of our teammates asking Brenda, when are we getting our sticks? Right. Because they were promised to us like a few years past or back. And, that's all they wanted. Can we get equipment? Like, can we get decent equipment? Like not what I would, buy for my nephews that's 10 years old. Like I want professional stuff. Like I need to play with good equipment. I need to like perform at a different level. And it's, the road trips where you get to a hotel and you don't know, like if they're ready for us, if they're not, are the meals there are like, this was like, honestly, NCAA in college was the feel of what professionals should kind of like be like, right? Yeah. Like NCAA or like CIS at the time and you're well taken care of. There's someone that's in charge of ops. There's someone that's in charge of everything from a staff, right? Like we need to take care of a lot of little things in order to make it feel as players.
And it's always like step based. I mean, you kind of just become complacent with what you get sometimes. And I think that's the issue. And I mean, that's in a lot of facets of life. Well, it's better than it was, but is that where it should be? Right. Cause we could say the NCAA is definitely the way we were treated was a step above probably what we were getting treated in the CW. But we just saw with, March Madness on the women's side. Well, now it's March Madness, I think. Like, what did the women get for their gym? You know what I mean? Like, so there's always progress to be made. And, playing for Nikkana Zen was, I mean, it was an incredible experience. But again, it's like when women often feel guilty to ask for more. You're like, well, this is good. Like last year we didn't get this. And but it's not acceptable still,
And I remember like one story, and I argued with our GM at the time, and I apologize for it, but we won, I think the CW or whatever it was, that we won some kind of tournament.
The hats.
And they provided us hats, like a 3-on-3 tournament from some buttfuck. Sorry, my term. Like nowhere tourney as a champion hat. Oh yeah, champion hat.
It's like they went to the thrift store, found a bucket of hats.
I'm like, what?
Oh, perfect.
And then I couldn't understand how people were like, "This is so sweet." I'm like, no. Are you effing kidding me at this point? Like, and this is one little story, but like again, women's. Like having to, we're okay with this. Thank you so much. Yeah. No, actually we deserve this. And, this is, I guess one little story from Lake Canadian, but honestly, it was not nearly as bad as like the Blades or like maybe even you guys, Knoxy. Like, I feel like we didn't see anything because we had like a group of 40 people working. Like, I mean, amazing volunteers for us.
You really do rely on the hard work of the volunteers who don't get nearly enough credit. We talked about that a little bit in our episode with Alexis as well. And I think like when we started the Secret Dream Gap Tour, that was one of the things that we knew when we brought NHL clubs on, that it couldn't just be, oh yeah, sure, we'll throw the PWHPA logo on your website. Like, no, we want you to host us. We want you to, pay for us to come to your city and treat us like professionals. And it was really well received by these NHL franchises, which in my head is like, okay, I mean, that's amazing because now they're putting money behind it saying, I would pay to have you guys come here. And like you said, steps, there's always going to be progress to be made, but in the last 3 years, what we've done with the tour has just been like really eye-opening to see the NHL franchises kind of, be that open-minded to say, well, obviously we would host you guys. Like, obviously
like we don't want it to be performative.
Exactly.
It's like we never asked before. You know what I mean? Like
it kind of does feel like that. It's like you get stuck in it though, because the CW, sometimes I felt guilty because it's like, if you criticize the league you're in, I don't want to shit on the people who build it, because
And we know them.
There was
we know
nothing.
them personally.
Yeah,
I mean, it was
them.
players that started themselves. Like,
yes, and they used to drive in their cars down to Toronto. Like,
and they're good people doing what they believe is best for the sport.
For sure.
Yeah.
And there was definitely some positive incremental change, but like as a younger, now I'm an old person, but as a younger person, when you enter it, right, you're not going to go in there and say, well, why don't we have these things? But, and that's, again, the complacency issue and being grateful for what you have. But, I think in the last couple of years and with the folding of the CW, it's kind of allowed us that freedom to be angry, because now you're not, you don't feel like you're shitting on the legends who built the league. And you have literally nothing to lose. So we're going to be loud.
And then we kind of discovered our worth, like through it all. Like, I mean, like we always knew, right, that we deserved a professional league and everything, but like, how do we ask this, or how do we go about it? Now people are interested, people want to help. And we figured out, even though we were saying it, did we truly believe that we were worth something like that was, at that level? Or was it always just the national girls? Like, you know what I mean? Like there was always a little bit of doubts in players' minds probably. So I think that
I would say, I think it comes from, we talk to the importance of visibility and having people see role models and people achieving things that they might want to achieve that they didn't think they belonged, little girls seeing, women playing professional. But I think we personally, I was thinking about this before coming on because I figured we were going to talk about this. I kind of saw myself in the WNBA players and the U.S. women's soccer team. And then when you see other people standing up for what they deserve and what they need, and it kind of gave us courage, I think without really knowing it, seeing those examples, it kind of reassured us that, hey, we're not crazy. We do deserve this thing. Like,
it's so funny.
We're not asking so much.
Yeah. I saw Danielle Goyette. She was on an interview, in anticipation of the gold medal game, which is happening tonight. So when you're listening to this is last night. We don't know what's going to happen. We're going to give you our predictions next. But Danielle Goyette said when she played in the 98 Olympics, she said at that time, somebody asked her, where will the game be in 10 years? And she said, there'll be a professional league. And that would have been, 2008.
Yeah.
And now here we are still having this conversation. So the game is in the right hands. There's lots of good people working to move this forward. Let's go to the Olympics. Okay. No spoiler alerts because we are not time travelers.
No.
What are your predictions? We have Canada, USA tonight at 11 p.m. Eastern time. What do you think?
I don't know. It's so tough. It's so tough because.
Okay, let's start easy. Is there extra time?
Oh, I hope not. Wait, did they change the rules about shootouts? Because
yes, they changed, but
they did. Okay,
they changed. Yeah.
So there's no more shootouts. It's continuous 3-on-3 sudden death.
So stupid. Okay, you know what? I think there will be. I think this game is too unpredictable. Like we can't rely on any of their previous meetups.
Yeah.
The Olympics are something
so
special.
much
You don't know what's going to happen. Yeah.
So 3 for 3 on extra time. Yeah. These are like prop bets. They go extra time. If Jamie Lee Rattray gets more than 7 minutes, I win that bet. Okay.
Yo.
Final score. No, we can't go down that road.
She doesn't need more. She's got a score. True. It doesn't matter. It's all good.
Minutes.
We good.
Okay. Final score. Obviously, 3-2. We're a 1-goal game. So what's your prediction?
I'm going 3-2.
You already said 3-2?
Yeah.
That's like the prime score.
That's history repeating itself, literally. I'll say
okay. So I had, before you guys go, I had two thoughts. I was going, it's either going to go 4-1. Okay. Crazy.
Yeah.
I had that thought too.
Or it's going to go back and forth. And actually someone else guessed or was saying 4-3. And I went, no, I think 3-2 would be.
Okay. I'm with team 4-3.
All right. Fine. I'll go 2-1. Keep it simple then.
Sounds good.
2-1 for who? We don't know.
Yeah,
we don't know. All Canadians,
we can't put that kind of pressure on it.
Little hard, but there's so many great players. so many friends on both teams. So it's tough to cheer for it, you know.
And as we said, you know, the PWHPA is very well represented. These are our friends, our colleagues, our competitors. We wish everyone health and safety first and foremost. Have a great hard game. And yeah, I can't wait to wrap it up next week. Of course, you can catch Mel at the upcoming showcase in Ottawa, February 26th and 27th, where she and Team Harveys from Montreal take on the Boston region Team Bauer in their first game at 3 p.m. on the 26th. So make sure you go online to PWHPA.com to check those tickets. Mel, we wish you good luck in the upcoming showcase, but not too much in case you face Toronto here. You know, good luck in your studies, in your work. And of course, thank you so much for being on the show with us today.
Mel, spoiler alert, Knoxy is on Toronto.
The Knoxy and Kax Show on SDPN, produced in partnership with the PWHPA. Follow Knoxy and Kax on Twitter at 27Knoxy and at Karell Emard. The views expressed are those of the individuals and are not necessarily those of the PWHPA. Check out sdpn.ca for more Knoxy and Kax and the rest of the SDPN crew.
She scores!